Hello Minecrafters, this is Seth and welcome to my first episode of a brand new series where I will be playing on the Project Nebula server. This is an existing server, so as you can see, they've already got a huge spawn area built. I've got some real catching up to do. This should look familiar to most of you. I got a wood pickaxe, I'm going to use that to get a better pickaxe, and I'm going to use that pickaxe to get a better pickaxe, and keep on going down the road. So yeah, looking for some coal, I'm looking for a few things so that I can get my starter base going. I've got an idea for what I'm looking for, but I need some materials before I can even get started on anything. Alright, so I'm looking for what I want in a base, and as you can see, I'm kind of out in the middle of the ocean. So what I have planned is I kind of want to find a nice little island somewhere that's really surrounded by just water with nothing to see for a while, mostly because I'm planning for a big ocean base, and oh my god, that's a lot of magma. I'm planning for this nice ocean base, and I want to make sure that I can expand in pretty much every direction without running into other people and encroaching on their territory for quite a while, because I've got some really big plans for later. Alright, so as you can see, this is pretty much perfect. Right, it's a very small island. I don't have to do a lot to it in order to turn it into what I actually want later, and it's really far away from everything. Alright, so I just started mining, and as you can see, I found some diamonds, and I'm actually really in luck because just a little bit ago, another guy on the server offered to give me a pickaxe with fortune on it for free, at least for now. I'll pay him back later, but it's coming really in handy because right now, like, instead of having 8 diamonds, I now have a whole bunch more. And so this is going to be really useful when it comes time to actually buying things from the server economy that already exists, because if I have to collect every little thing myself, it's going to take me a while. And so it's kind of nice to get a little be able to get a head start when I can just buy all the stuff that's really hard for me to acquire, at least for now. Alright, it's time for a really big important step. Right, I'm actually going to connect myself to the nether hub. I'm in the middle of an ocean, so I'm really far away, and so until now, every time I've had to go back to meet somebody else or go back to spawn, I've actually had to go to the nearest base next to me through the nether and then still travel close to 2,000 blocks to actually get to my base. So I'm finally going to build my little nether hub with the obsidian I finally collected with my diamond pickaxe, and then actually connect myself to the nether so I can get back in a reasonable amount of time. For those of you that have played a lot of Minecraft, you know how incredibly annoying it can be to go from a server where you had everything to a server where you have nothing. In particular for me, the big thing I miss is an elytra. You quickly just get used to flying everywhere whenever you want, and to be without it is just incredibly mind-numbing. So the first thing I did when I got here, I made my little base, and then I went and found diamonds. And the reason for that is that this server has this nice big shopping district that exists. So I'm going to come here, I'm going to look through the shops, see what's available, but in particular I'm looking for an elytra, and then maybe some tools and some armor and some stuff that can help me get started and get back to the place where I actually can do the things I want to do, instead of having to slowly build myself up from absolute scratch. I finally have an elytra. I cannot tell you all how absolutely happy this makes me. I'm just gonna fly around for a bit, but now that we can, let's go ahead and check out the shopping district and the entire spawn area. As you can see, they've got quite a lot built. Now all I need to do is just not die. Really? What did I just say? Really? So I just went and mined a bunch of logs, and now with this I can finally make a bunch of chests. The big thing I've kind of missing is storage, and I'll be honest, I really like to be organized, and so while I don't have a true big storage system for now, I can at least have enough chests that I can make stuff into a decently organized system. So as you can see, I've just been building underground here so far. It's this tiny little base. It doesn't look really nice, and I'm kind of considering it temporary. This is next to my nether portal, it's next to my mine, but one of the things I want to make sure of is that when I go up to the surface and I go to build my actual base, what I'm actually planning to do, I want to ensure that I don't have a bunch of stuff that's already in the way. Right, so by doing this down here as this temporary idea, I don't really have to worry about deconstructing it and moving all my storage. I can just wait until I'm actually ready to move out. It's been a few days, and as you can see, I've got a bunch of shulker boxes here. Most of these are full or very close to it, of all kinds of different blocks. I've pretty much only been collecting these for the past several days, and so I'm really excited to show you this new big project I want to work on. As you can see, I've got a bunch of color blocks, I've got some redstone components here, and so if you're going to learn anything about me, you'll learn that I just like to do things big, so I'm going to start off with this one big project that I think is going to be the centerpiece of my base, and I'm really, really looking forward to it. So I think we're going to go ahead and do this in the form of a time lapse, and let's just see if you guys can guess what it's going to be. And it's done. For those of you that guessed that I was going to be building an absolutely massive item sorter, you are absolutely right. I'm sure the massive amounts of hoppers in the chests in the beginning where it was a dead giveaway. But here I have gone and created what is going to be, I consider, the centerpiece of my base. I tend to spend more time in the storage system going and grabbing things than anywhere. So I want it to be extremely well organized. So to me, this is one of the most important things I could have done. This thing sorts 512 different stackable items into chests, over 2,500 chests in this entire thing. It is quite large. Right, so what I wanted to do is I just wanted to take you through some of the features of this sorter, some of the tips and tricks that I used to get it how it is, so that maybe you can incorporate them into an item sorter of your own. So the first thing you'll notice here is right in the center, I have this nice little glass display with the items going up. Right, so a couple things to note here. Right, the first is I wanted this display so I could easily see when it's working. Right, when it's working, I know that I need to be on so that it can actually sort its items. It has something to do, so I can't just leave the area or whatnot. So here I make it nice and visible. I don't have to have a crazy redstone display, and it's also pretty good looking. Now, one thing you'll notice, usually when you build these systems, is you're going to hear a lot of clicking. And I don't actually have a lot of clicking going on, and that's because the dropper that exists is actually more than 16 blocks below me. For those of you that didn't know, the dropper sound only propagates for 16 blocks. So as long as you make that far enough away, make your water stream tall enough, that's not a sound you're going to have to deal with. And so for somebody like me who absolutely hates that sound, that's freaking perfect. So the next thing I wanted to talk about is this design is pretty symmetrical, as you'll notice. So one of the things I've done here in order to prevent myself from getting lost, to be able to find things more quickly, is I've actually changed up the colors in each wing. So instead of just sticking with the gray and the red color scheme everywhere that I have going on here, I added this, and this gives it not just a little pop of color with the yellow and the light blue and the green, but also allows me to say, oh, where are my carrots? Where's my food? Oh, that's down the green aisle. Where are my diamonds? Where are my iron blocks? In light blue. Where about my stone? Oh, it's in yellow. This allows me to very easily notice within this symmetrical design where you can't otherwise tell what's happening, where all my different items are. Right, which is really important in an item sorter where you don't have some other means of identifying it, especially in something this big, where frankly it's really easy to just forget about little things. And so this allows me from virtually any angle to tell exactly which colors are down a given aisle. All right, so next, in going down one of these aisles, you'll notice I've got 8 little double chests here right in the front. And these double chests are special just in that they're meant to store unstackable items, right? They're not actually connected to the sorter itself for the most part. I actually have a couple special chests that I'll get to, but they're meant to store all the things that I can't be stored everywhere else. So I have quite a number of these little 8 double chests in each little slot just to serve as an extra place for me to put things that I'm going to use pretty frequently. For example, empty shulker boxes or tools, armor, and many other types of things. Now, the one special case is actually over here. These 8 double chests are overflow for the sorter. So I can see that if I have something that didn't get sorted correctly, or maybe the sorter's not set up for it yet, because obviously I don't have every single item in the game yet, then this allows me to have a nice overflow where I can fix it and rerun it through the system. Now the next thing you'll notice is the display is probably fairly different from a lot of displays you've seen, right? It's very flat and it sorts, there's 2 different items high with 4 chests. And this was because I wanted a couple of things. The first was I wanted to be able to access 2 chests for any item. This happens to me pretty frequently, and that is that I want, say, a chest full of items, and I don't necessarily have it stored in shulker boxes. But maybe I also want a little bit more. It's really common when I'm using massive amounts of materials for, say, a build this size, for example, that I can go through shulker boxes worth of concrete or terracotta, stone, things like that. And so I wanted to make sure that I could always access at least 2 double chests worth of the material before I had to start worrying about it being backed up, because in another system where I was only displaying a single chest here, even if I had other chests behind it holding it, I'd empty out the chest and then I'd have to wait at hopper speed for it to slowly fill itself back up, and that's a huge pain in the butt. Next, very commonly when people do designs like this, they will actually kind of put these chests up here either 1 block back or 1 block forward. I don't like that. I don't think it looks as clean as this does, so I like to keep this nice and clean. And so what I had to do here is this top row actually contains another chest behind it with a hopper on top of it. So I raised the actual item sorter up a little bit so that I have room to transfer all the items through them, which I'll show you that in a little bit. Now lastly, I want to talk, like, this entire interior here is mob proofed. Everything is light level 8 or higher. And so obviously plenty of these things you can see. You can see the sea lanterns, you can see the end rods, and you understand that those are light sources. But I've done a few little things here to make sure that the light was not only everywhere for mob proofing's sake, but was everywhere for just prettiness sake. So for example, here I have a sea lantern covered in a carpet, right? Pretty simple, something everyone's done before, I'm sure, but it keeps this area lit up and mob proof without me having to sacrifice the scheme that I had going on here. It looks a little different, but it sticks with the color scheme and pretty much works. You can't really tell at a glance. The other thing is, you'll look down here, I didn't like that these, when I first built it, were just straight dark. It was very dark because there were no lights up here in this corner. So what I actually did was I took these shulker boxes and I built sea lanterns behind them and placed the shulker boxes of the same color here. So that makes it a little bit less noticeable that there's a shulker box there, but because shulker boxes are transparent, it actually serves as a light source. And now when I look through, it looks like the entire room is nice and lit up. So this is something I find very important. I really like things to be lit up, not just for mob proofing sense, but in order to actually look nice. Next, you'll see that I have a water stream here to go up, and so this will take me to the top. Now currently this is very, very much not built out. This is something I have some major plans for, but I'll take you a look through what it is right now. At least you'll see I start off at the very top here with my water stream, right? It just kind of comes down. I've covered this entire thing with glass, and the primary reason for this is so that I can literally watch the items travel. If you've ever built a system this large, you're going to make a mistake somewhere at some point. You're going to accidentally have your items misaligned somewhere, or you're going to have a water stream placed wrong. Something's going to go wrong, and it's kind of nice to just be able to literally walk and see what's happening, but without the fear or risk of accidentally picking up the items because you're too close. And that's just a huge pain in the butt. You have to sort them again, etc. So I've gone ahead and done this. It wraps the entire way around each side of this giant plus, and then snakes down to the next level and wraps back around in the opposite direction. So when these water streams go, here you'll see they run into two sea pickles. This is a trick that Mango showed fairly recently to actually align the items with an ice stream. So obviously I could just use hoppers. I could pass water over the hoppers, but you have kind of a couple of problems with that. The first is that items can get stuck in the hoppers, but if you align it right, you can still make it so that works. However, items won't travel as fast. There's still a benefit to having items travel over ice, and when you have an item sorted this large, you actually need the items to travel pretty fast before they will get despawned, right? So here I use blue ice everywhere across the entire thing, and then when I need to align them right along the edge between the ice and the hoppers, I use these two sea pickles when I'm coming from this direction, and in a couple of places where I actually come from the other direction, I use a double chest. So the item sorter itself is a pretty typical item sorter design. You've probably seen this a million places as a comparator. It has this kind of overflow protection built in. And what I've gone ahead and done is from here, you can actually access the hoppers from this side, and that made it so that I can always get in and see exactly what's in any given hopper. I've used these sticks now for filters. That's just because sticks are very easy to achieve in bulk numbers. I can just rename them and put them in all of these 512 chests. And so I can very easily walk along this entire thing. I don't have to worry about accidentally picking up the wrong items or anything like that. Now, the one thing that's a little different with this item sorter design compared to many is that the hoppers are on the other side of this item stream. And so what I've done for that is, it would help if I can show you from the bottom because I have it repeated. Down at the bottom, instead of having one repeater, I just have two, right? Pretty simple. It's almost identical to the current design most people know and are really familiar with. So one of the other things I thought was really important here is not just that I wanted to be able to access these hoppers at the top, right? Because obviously you need to be able to change out items as you want to move them around, just to set up the system in the beginning or to decide, oh, I don't want diamonds to be over here, I want them to be over there now. But you also want to make sure that, as I said earlier, you're going to screw something up when you build something this big, and it's just going to be an accident. In the course of making this, there were 2 different hoppers that I put facing the wrong direction, right? And so I didn't really notice that until I started going to test the system. And what happens is, in order to actually fix things like that, you want to make sure that you can kind of get into the system. And you'll see here, I can get in and I can actually access all of these different hoppers. And that's really important because in a system like this top hopper contains 41 items usually. But even if you took all those out and if it was working, this bottom hopper is actually going to contain 1 item. So you want to be able to access even these hoppers. And I find that really important in working with something like this, just because you can make it really compact, but you lose some friendliness when it comes to actually using the system and maintaining it later or making changes to it. So compactness is nice, but I don't think it's worth going overboard when you have a design like this that doesn't actually have to be super compact. So I'll go ahead and quickly show what I've got, what exists right now. There's a few people on the server, so it can lag a little bit right now. As you can see, it's kind of pretty in this own little symmetrical redstone-y kind of way, but it's not really pretty in any other sense. So for now, I've gone ahead and mob-proofed it. I've covered it all in torches, but this is also just solely for the purpose. I'm going to be building a pretty massive building or exterior over this, so I'm not so worried about the interior of this particular section right now because this isn't where I'm going to be spending time. So torches will do. They're actually one of my least favorite light sources in the game, but they're sufficient for this. I think what I'm going to do once I actually build this exterior is have these water streams kind of come up to this big platform where I can actually use that platform to take off and fly to other buildings in what's going to become kind of a metropolis that is going to be my base. So for now, I'm going to go to my downstream, and here you can actually see that I've got a waterlogged chest. I might actually update a couple of these other blocks here as well, but the actual point here is that if you fall right in this chest, because it's water, you don't take any damage as long as you fall right on it and not on the side like I just did. But here, it's not like if it was a full block of water where I would then have to kind of swim up and jump out, which is really annoying. I can literally just walk out. So I found, you just go find a block that's a little bit less tall than the water is, and a chest serves that purpose very nicely, and then just waterlog it. And you can find that you can easily use that to kind of fall from any height, not take any damage. So I actually have not only the 2 tunnels to go up and down here, but I've actually got another tunnel to go down up from my current, or rather my old temporary base, and down back to my temporary base. So this is an area where I still have my nether portal, as you can see, fall into the waterlogged chest, works great. This is still where my nether portal is. My old temporary storage area is back there. I've moved all the items up into my current storage system now, but that's where everything was. I'll still probably use it for things here and there, but this is mostly going to be an area where I'm going to do something pretty drastic with in a future episode. But here I've got just a typical water elevator that brings me back up to the main surface. So the one special thing to note here is that I've gone ahead and put the up directions, so going up from the bottom to this mid-level and then up from this level to the top, on opposite corners, and the down directions are also on opposite corners. This makes it a little easier for me to just remember, hey, I just came up from the bottom and I want to go to the top. Where do I go? Do I go left or right? I'm never going to remember something like that, but for me it's always much easier to say we'll go across, and that's something that I can really remember. What a beginning. We started with absolutely nothing, got some crap tools, turned those into some better tools, turned those into diamonds, turned those into tons of shulker boxes worth of materials, and then turned all of that into an absolutely massive item sorter, all in just the first episode. This is just the beginning, and there's so much more to come. I hope you enjoyed the episode, and if you did, don't forget to like and subscribe. This has been Seth, and I'll catch you next time.